Welcome to The Way Home with Laura Smith, the show that brings you wonderful guests, helpful advice, and uplifting stories. The Way Home. Live inspired. Here's your host, Laura Smith.
Happy Mother's Day to all the moms celebrating out there. I am so grateful to be with you on this super special day that I hope you are enjoying one way or another, whether you're celebrating your own mom, whether you are a mom and you're being celebrated, whether you were someone who never became a mom, but became like a mother figure to someone. So many people have done that in time. They have taken on people, whether it's young people or people in their own family or just friends that they love dearly. And they've showered people with motherly love, even when they're not moms themselves. So this is a day we celebrate the whole idea of the sense of motherhood. I'm so blessed myself. I have a beautiful daughter. Of course, motherhood has been a super highlight in my life. It is the greatest highlight, my greatest achievement, my greatest reward. And it's kind of hard to describe, but now she's all grown up, but you never really stop being a mom. So for everyone, I just want to send my love today. And we have a special edition. I decided that instead of I normally have sometimes a celebrity, sometimes a guest expert. I decided to go with some moms that I knew and bring them to you today just so they can talk about their experiences. And I hope you enjoy it. One of them is even my own mom, Joan Smith. She's going to be joining us. My sister, Terry Shreve, who adopted a baby from Indonesia and still lives in Indonesia to this day. She's going to be on as well. Debbie Nigro, a friend of mine in radio who started a whole theme 25 years ago called Working Mom on the Run. She was way ahead of her time. And it's just a day that we celebrate women who take on the greatest task in the world of helping to form and shape a human being. And I'm going to shout out also somebody who I adore with all my heart. She has 5 children and I believe 25 grandchildren, if you can imagine. And I don't think they're done yet. All those grandchildren keep on coming. But Susan Howard is the matriarch of the family of Balance of Nature. And she has taught me so much. She is one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met. I've had the great pleasure of knowing and learning from, because she is someone who really epitomizes motherhood in all of its grandeur, but she is quiet and fierce all at once. Really one of my favorite human beings. So shout out to you on Mother's Day, Susan Howard, and the family of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule on this special edition of The Way Home. I wanted to get on an expert talking about being a mom, maybe who'd written a book or something, but I thought, what the heck? There's no better expert at being a mother than mothers themselves. And they could be any mother, because once you become one, you become an expert. And so for that, I go to people that I already know and love, who to me are examples of what it means to be a great mom, but they're not necessarily always conventional. And when I think of funny and I think of fun and I think of the non-conventional, I think of my dear friend, Debbie Nigro, a fellow radio babe and someone who I turn to whenever I want to bring laughter to the airwaves and joy to my heart. Happy Mother's Day, Debbie Nigro.
And to you, Laura Jean Smith. That's so nice. We share that honor of being mothers together. We both have beautiful daughters. I love how you introduced me unconventional. There must have been a bin in the delivery room when I came out, like unconventional on the other side of the room. I don't know how I ended up so different, but okay, we're doing the best we can. That's what everybody's trying to do as a mother on this planet, the best you can.
And you know what, Deb? So you're interesting for so many, many reasons, but I want to tell people right off the bat, you have a radio show. We've both been in radio together for many years, same station, different stations all around, but you have a really amazing brand for your radio show. And you have a lot of different things that you go under. Still a Babe is one of them. Risk It or Regret It. You have all of these incredible features that you bring to all of your podcasts and all of your shows that are beloved by so many. And you've been doing this for so long, but way back before it was cool and before anybody else did it in the world, when you were a single parent and I was a single parent, you did something called Working Mom on the Run. So tell us a little bit about what it was like being in radio, trying to raise a daughter, and just you're using your sense of humor to kind of get you through all of it.
Well, thank you for bringing up that sore subject, Laura. I want to poke myself in the head because I was the first one to be the working mom on the run, and the subtitle was "What the Heck Happened in My Life?" And had I still had that company during this social media burst of mothers sharing, information and all the different platforms that mothers can connect and businesses, I'd probably not be busy. I'd probably be too busy to talk to you right now.
You'd be married to Elon Musk or something like that.
No, I don't know what I'd be doing, but I'd probably be doing more philanthropy than work. Okay, so let's get real. But, I remember back, I had workingmom.com, and I had 1 million hits the first month when the internet, no one even knew what the internet was. I didn't even care about the internet. I go, all right, what do we got? 1 million hits? All right, whatever. Can you imagine? And, it's very, very valuable to hit a niche of people that connect on a like-minded thing. So I'm very proud of all the young women and the women in general these days who figured out their niche to connect with other mothers. I tell you, there's some great sites. One is called the Mom Project. They're all about helping women at home re-enter the workforce because the pandemic, caused a disastrous havoc for poor working mothers who, what choice was that? Leave your kid, go out and get COVID, or send your kid, let the kid get COVID, it was a tough time for mothers homeschooling and trying to earn money. So what you have now is a lot of, an evolution of mothers figuring out how to help one another, which is great.
Exactly. And you were doing that organically because that's what you were doing. And that was, if I remember correctly, it's right when I started at the radio station in Greenwich where you were at the time, and Working Moms on the Run. It was probably was it 25 or 30 years ago?
Oh, shut up, Laura. Stop with the counting of the years. I don't know, but it was a long time ago. And I think, I ended it in 2000. So think about it. It had to be at least 25 years ago. But I remember pulling up to WGCH at the time. I had the idea, right? Because, I always got an idea. And I had smoke coming out of my Isuzu Trooper and a cracked windshield. And I came into WGCH and I go, oh, I got this great idea for this show. And I never forget, Charlie Ponger was the GM. And he goes, great, I love it. I go, oh, you do? Because, we're ready for this big sell. I go, don't worry, I'll sell it nationally, regionally, locally. And he goes, I go, we'll be partners. He goes, okay. So that little okay set me off. All you need is one okay from somebody who you're hoping an okay from, right? And ended up becoming a huge success. Up to 500 radio stations, short form, long form. I had a line of clothing on Home Shopping. And it ended sadly, Laura, with a bad ending, Laura. Because you got to pick. Yeah,
Tell us.
You got to. Well, here's a lesson for mothers, and women in general. Watch who you trust that you think knows better than you in business and in life. We tend to defer because we don't think we're smart enough or slick enough or educated enough or I don't know, enough, that we let other people decide how our fate's going to go. And then we believe them. And sometimes it doesn't work out because you knew you were right in the first place. There is something to be said about women's intuition, and mother's intuition is even that's crazier on the money.
Absolutely. So that's okay. So you obviously, the Working Moms on the Run became no more, but you went on to do a million other iterations. Still a Babe is one of your brands. And
I'm so delusional. It's ridiculous. I love being delusional. Yeah. And the thing is, you got to keep reinventing yourself. I've had the lowest of lows and the highest of highs, and so have we all. But there's always, every time you think you're done, you're not.
That's right. You know what? I absolutely agree with you. Every time you think, well, this is my greatest and best chapter, but it might be my last. No, that's usually the beginning of something new, right?
Yeah, women think they lost their looks and they're done. You're never done. Only you say you're done. Only you say you're done.
And how about this for motherhood? You think you're done. Your children grow up. You've got these beautiful human, beings out there in the world now, adults themselves and mothers themselves. And you think you're done parenting, but the parenting never totally finishes, does it?
No, because I got to go right now because my daughter is having her second baby tomorrow, and she's in town. She just moved 45 minutes away, but she just called me and said, "Oh, listen, Mom, I'm down the block. I'm going to get." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll be right there." We never stop overdoing, overprotecting. To all the mothers who have more than one child, God bless them. I always bow down. I don't know how you do it. And a special shout out to all the mothers in Ukraine. I got to tell you, my heart bleeds every day for those mothers trying to protect their kids and themselves. We got to just pray for them that they get through. It's just unbelievable, right?
But yes, and a mother's strength, and with God's protection, and what moms go through. It's an interesting power. It's a superpower, I think, to be a mom. And so to all of them out there, I just want to highlight some of my favorite moms today on Mother's Day. Debbie Nigro, everybody check out all of her platforms, her shows, her writing. She is one of the funniest human beings on the planet. DebbieNigro.com.
And we have the official Teenagers.com now, which is pretty darn funny. It's about, really can't make this up. I just want to say one last thing about mothers, and you probably have it in your head. There's always one thing you could hear your own mother's voice in your head of something she said, even if she's long gone. I can hear my mother every time I do something, and she always be like, just put it away now. You won't have to pick it up later. Okay, what do you hear in your head, Laura Jean? What's your mother's voice?
Well, my mother's still here, and she's still saying that to me. My mother's like, if you don't like your carrots, eat your carrots first, because her dad told her to say that. So get the stuff out of the way. It sounds like the same kind of advice your mother gave you. And she always says, what is the other thing? Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today.
You can do today. Oh, they went to the same mommy school.
I think so, for sure. Happy Mother's Day to you. Happy Grandma. For the second time, and happy Mother's Day to Alexis, your beautiful daughter, who I adore. Thank you so much for being here. Debbie Nigro, much love to you, my friend.
Much love to you. Happy Mother's Day, Laura.
Well, my sister is visiting from overseas. She lives in Jakarta, Indonesia. But my sister, 21 years ago, made the decision with her husband, Tom, to adopt a baby. And so I want to ask my sister, Terry Shreve, what that's been like for her, because it was an interesting journey. First, the adoption itself in a foreign country and that where she lived. And then second, raising a baby like that, my beautiful niece, Amina. So, Terry, thank you so much for joining The Way Home today.
Glad to be here.
So of course, I know the story of Amina, who is I always call her my favorite niece, but she's really my only niece. So, but that's okay. She's still my favorite. And I want to tell people about a little bit what you went through when you and Tom made a decision 21 years ago. Actually, it may have been longer ago that you decided you wanted to adopt, but it took you a little while because you were in Indonesia. Tell us a little bit of the scenario and what you went through at that time.
Okay. Well, I think adopting from Indonesia is a bit harder than some other places because you have to be a resident there for at least 2 years, at least back when we were adopting. And I think that's still the rule. You have to be within a certain age. They come and they do, all the home visits and everything. And then we also had to do it from the U.S. side, which required like answering, pages and pages of essays and, going in and talking to a psychiatrist just to make sure that we would be fit and everything. So it was quite a long process. I think from start to finish, by the time we finally got him, it was like 9 months.
From start to finish. For some reason, it felt like it was longer because I remember you calling and announcing you and Tom had already been married like 15 or 18 years, correct? When you made the decision to adopt?
Yes. Yes. Now that you mention it, I think, it'd been about 17 years, I think.
Yes. So
and I Indonesia 10 at that point. So
yes, you had been in Indonesia already for 10 because you guys had moved there for a work assignment and Tom was at a law firm there or something like that. And like you said, so you'd been married all those years and you weren't sure about adoption. I don't remember for the beginning of your marriage whether you had wanted that. But then when you did decide, you called us on the phone, you said, we've made the decision. And then I remember it was a super long waiting game. And how did the process go when you did you go to an orphanage in Indonesia? How did that work?
Yeah, from the U.S. side, they said there was only one orphanage that we could adopt from because they knew that they did the correct paperwork and it was all like, above board and everything. So there was one orphanage. We went down there, filled in the paperwork, told them, we said we wanted a girl and it's like a baby, and just kind of set our very like limit, we just basically wanted a baby girl. And then we just waited. And one day I finally got a call. I think we had gotten a couple of calls, but for some reason it just never seemed right. And then I got a call one day, and the person at the orphanage said, "I've got the perfect baby for you. I'm holding her for you. You've got to come down." And so
that minute, like right at that minute,
that day. So I called Tom, and it's like we ran down there and we went, "Yep, this is it. That's her.
That's her."
And then the rest is history. It's like, yeah.
What is it like? Sorry. What is it like when you see the baby for the first time? Because they brought her out in a blanket. Wasn't that the story?
Yeah, we were like waiting in a room, and they brought her in, and we have a picture of like the first time she and I saw each other, and it was just like it was meant to be. It's like we'd never really thought about adoption before, and then several of our friends in Indonesia had, and just one day it kind of hit us, and I went home and told him, I said, "Why don't we do this?" And he goes, "Sure, I've just been waiting for you." so then like the next day is when we went down, did the whole thing. So it was all just like meant to be. It all fell into place. Once she came home, it took us another year to get the final paperwork done, like the fostering period and everything. And then after that, then we had to get her U.S. citizenship, which was a whole other story, which, a whole other issue. But
right. The first time you
2.5 years, it was fine.
What was it? 2.5 years?
I think it's 2.5 years by the time we started the whole thing until she actually became a U.S. citizen and everything, probably longer than that. But yeah.
So you knew when you saw her that she was meant to be for you. Is it like a feeling of excitement, or were you nervous because, you hadn't done this before? You'd been married for quite a while. And tell me some of the different emotions that you felt.
Oh, I think all of those. It was like scared, but like really excited, and just kind of, but at the same time, this was just like, we knew this is what we wanted to do, and it was right. So, there's always, what if we aren't good parents? What if something happens? Depending on, the whole political situation and everything, it's like until all the paperwork, the I's are, dotted, the T's are crossed. It's like, it's very nerve wracking. Because you never know. At some point, somebody could come in and say, "Oh, sorry, we made a mistake. She's not yours." So that was kind of the scariest thing. And then given the time, when everything that was going on politically in the world, there were some very tricky, there were some very tense moments as to, what was going to happen. What if we had to get evacuated, for example, and she didn't have her passport or anything. She wasn't still official. The embassy had told us, you just have to leave her behind. It's like, well, no, none of us were going to be doing that. So, it was quite,
dicey,
stressful.
Yes. It sounds dramatic. But all these years later, she just turned 21. I know, because I called her on her birthday, and she's in college at Syracuse University. What is it like for you now? Like when you look at her, your daughter, and she was, by the way, biologically, she was born to an Indonesian woman. So she looks like a beautiful, is it Eastern Asian woman, or Pacific Asian?
Yeah, Pacific Asian. She's
right. Yeah. And so, and here she is. And yet the two of you are like two peas in a pod. It's really uncanny. I mean, because she's so much like you and Tom, your husband, and yet, she is adopted. And I think that's something that's so beautiful about adoption, is that this child integrates into the family to such a point that all of a sudden you really become one. Like any other family that's had biological children, I think. And
absolutely. It's like, I don't know what it's like to have a biological child, but a lot of my friends have it. And it's like, there's absolutely no difference as far as I'm concerned. It's like exactly the same.
Uh-huh. And the love is just as big. Well, Terry, I appreciate you coming on. I know that you don't usually like to do public speaking. You're unlike me, your sister who talks for a living, but I appreciate you doing this because I just love the story of your adoption of Amina. And it's been wonderful to watch all these years and what a joy it has brought you. So thank you, and happy Mother's Day to you.
Well, thank you. And yes, and it was the best thing we could have ever done. It's like not one regret. It's like, it's been amazing. So anybody who has the opportunity, go for it.
I love it. once again, I wasn't just going to go for the celebrity moms. I wanted to actually get a chance for my own mom to talk a little bit about her experience of being a mom all these many years. But you cannot say, Mom, how many years you've been a mom. You're going to out my age. So anyway, without further ado, I want to present to you Joan Smith, my wonderful mother, who has been a great mom to me all these many years, and my sister Terry. Thanks for joining us on the way home on Mother's Day, Mom.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, I hope.
It is. It's already a pleasure. Trust me, it is. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for deciding to do this. I know you were thinking you were a little shy, but you've been on the radio before because you went on Debbie Nigro's show, my friend who was also on the show today. Several years ago, you and your sister Jean, you were traveling across New York and you went on her radio show. So this is easy for you, right?
Oh, no. Yes, of course it is.
All right. So anyway, Mom, I think it would be fun to talk a little bit about the fact that when you had my sister and I, you were a lot younger than I was when I had my daughter, because I was almost 30 when I had Hannah. You started when you were still a teenager. So when I came along, we won't tell the year again. You and Dad were actually living in Mexico City, right? Because Dad was going to college there to get his degree in international business?
Correct.
So how long had you lived in Mexico City when you found out you were pregnant for me? You already had Terry. So, and
right.
Yeah. So
I guess Terry was about 2 years old. And I think we had been in Mexico for a year or more.
Okay. And I'm not sure if I was planned or anything like that, or if it was I was a great big surprise. But I guess after all these years, you could let me know.
Both of you were surprises, but very nice surprises.
Well, that's good. I feel better now. So, but interestingly enough, you weren't able to have me in Mexico because at the time, it was at a certain time in history when if you were to have a baby in Mexico and that baby was a boy, they would have had to automatically be a Mexican citizen. And I would have had to, had I been a boy, go into the Mexican army at age 18 without, there was no getting out of it. Like that was the rule at the time. And that's what you were afraid of, right?
Exactly it. Exactly. So with no money, we had to go back to the States, and I had you in Indiana.
Aha, which is why, I was born at Elkhart General Hospital. So did you fly back to the States or did you drive?
We drove to the border, and then your dad went back to school, and I flew on to Indiana or Chicago or wherever it was at the time.
Okay. So you had me, but Dad was still going to college. So he wasn't there the day I was born. Right. So your sister Jean was with you, right?
Correct.
And I know that must have been hard not having Dad there, but I don't even think the dads were in the hospital room at that time with the wives, were they?
No, I don't think anybody was.
Well, okay. So you and Annie Jean were kind of there. I was finally born, but then Dad did come and join us, right? And
he came to pick us up and take us back to Mexico.
But that time you drove back, right?
Yeah, right.
So you drove from Elkhart, Indiana, all the way back to Mexico City.
Correct.
With how old was I?
Oh, just a couple of weeks old.
Oh, my goodness. And did you have air conditioning in the car? Because I was born in August.
We were lucky to have a car. I don't know if it had air conditioning or not.
Well, you made it back. And so the first year of my life or so was in Mexico City with you and Dad and Terry. And then you guys, when he was done with his degree, you guys moved back to the States. Where did you go after that? Do you remember?
Boy, so many places. I think we came back to Indiana, and then your dad went on to Georgetown University. And so we were in Bethesda, Maryland, living. And then from there, we came back to Indiana and went to many different places.
Yep, that's right. We were in Indiana until I was 6. And then we went to Brazil and Australia. and then back to Indiana and back to Brazil. It was quite a whirlwind of a life. It makes kind of sense that I was conceived in Mexico City, considering all the traveling we ended up doing, because Dad was in international business with Miles Laboratories at the time, and he would open up the company in the faraway places. So he ended up following the path of his degree, and you did it at such a young age, early 20s, with 2 kids and traveling all over the world. And that must have been really unique for the time that it was, because let's just put it this way. Yeah, it was in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. And, I don't think too many people were doing that at the time. It was quite a wonderful experience.
That's right. Well, I have to say, you handled it so well, because every home that we moved to, every country we moved to, you always made it feel like it was our favorite place in the world. And so that's the testament I give to you. You were that kind of a mom, that you made a wonderful home wherever we went. And it was just an incredible experience looking back on it all now. I imagine, how young you were when you were doing that and raising kids like that. But you did it great. And now here you are back in Indiana. And isn't there a song about that?
Back home again in Indiana. Yep.
Great, Mom. Well, I can't tell you what it's been like to come back to Indiana after 40 years in New York, where I ended up living. I went for 4 years for college, and I ended up staying for decades upon decades. But I'm back now because I wanted to be close to you guys and enjoy my mom and dad in this phase of life. And it has really been amazing. It's been the best decision of my life. So thank you for being the most wonderful mom and allowing me to pull you onto the radio like this on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. If you know what I mean. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Thank you for joining us today on this special day, this special edition of The Way Home with Laura Smith. Lots of love to all of you. Have a great week.
Podcasts by Federated Media.